Hello guys, this is Mr. Mack-Poole and I am making a very special Germany revision video for you. Now what I'm going to try and do is get the Germany course in under 15 minutes. Now this is just a walkthrough. It's not going to be extremely detailed in every respect, and if you see something you think, I don't know what happened there, I don't understand, I would suggest that you research it. The document which I'm using, I'm going to load up to your Google Classrooms. Okay, so without further ado, I guess we should just get started. I'm standing up, I'm not sitting down, to give you some dynamic teaching. So in 1918, this is where we set our scene. Okay, you have the Kiel mutiny, the Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicates, he leaves, leaving there a power vacuum, and an armistice is signed on the 11th of November. Okay. A Weimar Republic is established, and Ebert becomes the first Reich president. He does a deal with this man called Groner. Groner is second in charge of the army, and they agree to have no communists in the government. Now, this is important. It's highly significant because the SPD, the Social Democratic Party, and the KPD would never be able to work with each other after this. It is actually a very good opportunity for Hitler to rise to power. One of the key reasons for Hitler's rise to power is the unwillingness of far left and moderate left parties to work together. Okay, in 1919, the Spartacist uprising fails. So Red Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht are both extrajudiciously executed in that event. And within the Kapp Putsch in 1920, they try to a right-wing nationalist authoritarian group sector in society tries to take power. So what we can see really in this early Weimar Republic is that it's not going very well, is it? Okay, the socio-economic unrest due to, and I should have it in here, the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, due to the Treaty of Versailles, the loss of World War One, and the German economy flagging after the loss of World War One, and the extreme reparations of the Treaty of Versailles really harms Germany. And the Treaty of Versailles is one of the major reasons for the failure of the Weimar Republic. It economically punishes Germany. It territorially punishes Germany. So German territory is lost to Alsace-Lorraine and Danzig. So the army is reduced. Germany's militarily punished. So the Treaty of Versailles is huge, and you should all know that. And you should be aware of the huge amount of reparations, 132 billion gold marks or 6.6 billion pounds worth of reparations, just completely destroyed Germany's socio-economic capability, to be honest. So also, so the Kapp Putsch fails. Now, the Spartacist uprising fails due to Ebert using the Freikorps to put them down, and the Kapp Putsch fails due to a general strike, again, called at Ebert's bequest. So the thing is that it's really strange. The Weimar Republic survives in these early years only because Ebert can use the left to put the right down and the right to put the left down. Okay, and the left haven't got weapons, but they've got strike power, and the right have got weapons, but they haven't got strike power. So it's a very interesting way that Ebert balances those early days there. Okay, now by 1923, Germany can no longer pay its reparations, so we have the occupation of the Ruhr. Hyperinflation crisis is absolutely terrible, and then Hitler tries to take advantage in his Munich Putsch, which fails due to a lack of general support, really. And then in 1924, after all of this craziness and a lot of political assassinations, over 300 political assassinations from 1918 to 1923, what we see is a period of stability, and it's known as the Golden Years, and it's because of a man called Gustav Stresemann. Now, Gustav Stresemann he does a lot of deals. He's a wheeler dealer. He's a very important man. So what he does, he introduces the Rentenmark and the Rentenbank, and then quickly replaces that temporary currency with the Reichsmark and the Reichsbank. Okay, he introduces a Dawes Plan, which slows down the reparations which Germany has to pay and extends them over a longer time. And it also allows for Germany to get huge loans from America. And look, this whole golden years period, it couldn't have been able to happen. It would not have happened without these loans. So Germany's kind of national security, the socio-economic situation, which it finds itself in, is totally predicated on American loans. Now, we know in 1929, with the Wall Street crash, this will literally come crashing down, for want of a better word. But we do have 4 or 5 really good years here. Now, the reason for this is the Lucano Pact. So Gustav Stresemann signs that Lucano Pact with France and Britain. He gets a Nobel Peace Prize. It secures the borders between France and Germany, but it doesn't secure the eastern borders. Hitler's in jail. He's writing Mein Kampf. It becomes published. Eventually, not straight away, it would become a huge bestseller, globally read, and he would make a lot of money from that. In 1926, Germany was admitted to the League of Nations. So within this golden years theme, Germany's admitted to the League of Nations. So they've got international respect. There's less of this diktat stuff going on. So the Lucano Pact really demonstrates again. So just going back there to 1925 shows that there's less of diktat. Germany's treated as an equal player, and its admission into the League of Nations shows a real détente between Germany and the Western bourgeois democracies of Britain and France. You have the Bamber Conference in 1926. So when Hitler's out of jail, he tries to reorganize the Nazi Party. He sees his competitors off. So he sees Goebbels and Strasser off, and he makes sure that the Führerprinzip, the leadership principle, is established, and everyone will be completely loyal to him. In 1928, we have the Kellogg-Briand Pact. The Kellogg-Briand Pact was about international disarmament, but no one disarmed, so complete pie in the sky, really. In 1929, we get 2 ominous events which really represent a turning point in history. Gustav Stresemann dies, and the Wall Street crash leads to massive socio-economic unrest. So this golden years at the self-same time is the wilderness years for the Nazis. So because of the great socio-economic situation, because German industry grows by double within the golden year period because of American loans, the Nazis can't really get to power. You need a really poor socio-economic situation for the Nazis to attract votes because they're an extremist party. You're only likely to vote for an extremist party if there's no hope for your nation. It's crumbling away. Now, with the Wall Street crash comes the Great Depression. The Great Depression really gives Hitler his opportunity. And so what we see is that the Nazi Party attains 107 seats. And that's just amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Amazing growth from what was there before. Okay. Now, 2 years later, the Nazis become the largest party in the Reichstag. By 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor after a lot of kind of backroom machinations between people like Schleicher and von Papen, but he manipulates his way to be Chancellor. Hindenburg was not a fan. He was not a fan of Hitler and did not want to make him Chancellor, but he was convinced to do so by von Papen. Straight away, Hitler comes to power. It's a very, very busy time. There's a Reichstag fire, so he bans the KPD, the Communist Party of Germany. Now, some people say that it was Hitler that set this fire himself. A lot of historians think it's Maris van der Lubbe. It doesn't really matter, really, does it? It's the consequences that are important. The Communist Party were banned. The Enabling Acts were passed. The Reichstag fire decree was passed. So it's a very interesting time. You can see Hitler is really moving from a democratically elected leader trying to become a dictator. So with those Enabling Acts that passed, he really is a dictator, a legal dictator. He signs the Rights Concordat with the Catholic Church, which entails that Catholic schools will have a kind of protected status in Germany, and therefore the Pope will not seek to involve himself in politics, and Catholic bishops won't. The Nazis don't really keep their side of the deal there, okay? But it's just a method for the Nazis to kind of keep the Catholic Church out of politics for as long as possible. Now, in 1934, we have the Night of the Long Knives. It's a very interesting period. So what Hitler is able to do, Hitler is able to destroy his internal opposition in the Nazi Party and also set aside a few old scores. So, for instance, in the Munich Putsch, he felt like von Kahr had betrayed him. Certainly, people like von Schleicher were killed as well. But what's really kind of, I don't know, appalling from a loyalist perspective, I don't know, from does Hitler have any real loyalties to anyone? He has his best friend who was in charge of the SA, the brown shirts, Ernst of Rome, is executed. He's killed on that night as well. And so were a lot of other leaders within the SA. The issue was over the German army. Would the SA be in charge of the German army, or would the army be in charge of the SA? Hitler wanted to keep his generals happy, so he basically had Strom killed. Now, Hindenburg dies in 1934, so Hitler is really able to call himself the Führer. He combines the duties of the Reich president with the Reich chancellor, and now he's the Führer, okay? Which means he has total power. No one can really challenge him anymore. In 1935, Nuremberg Laws are passed. And these Nuremberg Laws are anti-Semitic. They completely discriminate against Jewish people. In 1936, we have the Berlin Olympics. The Berlin Olympics are a huge propaganda success for Goebbels. So that's good for him, I guess. It really was a kind of worldwide display of the Nazi regime, and they put on a very, very good show indeed. It was a huge propaganda success. We have to be honest about that. Germany did look impressive on the world stage. There's a 4-year plan started under Hermann Goering in 1936 in a build-up to war. He's supposed to really get the economy going and organize it, but really it kind of contradicts the Nazis' social policy of Kinderkirche, because women have to return to work in the factories because so many men have to go into the army. In 1937, Pastor Niemöller is arrested by the Gestapo. So this displays, how shall we say, this displays religious opposition within the Third Reich. Kristallnacht happens in 1938 because of the assassination of von Raff, a diplomat in the Paris embassy. A Nazi diplomat in the Paris embassy is assassinated by a Jew. This then causes huge riots, and I think over 100 Jews are killed. Many Jewish businesses are destroyed. And in 1939, World War II begins. Now, guys, I've kind of rushed through that. If there's anything that you're thinking, I don't remember that, I don't understand that, that's what you need to revise. Now, I may have missed 1 or 2 things out. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I've tried to make this as good as possible. You might be thinking, you could have mentioned this or you could have mentioned that. Okay, I've gone through the book. I've gone through the knowledge in my mind. I think if you can remember basically what is I've got on this sheet, I can't see you failing this exam in terms of skills, which I'm going to go through. I've already got some videos about skills, but I'm going to make some more. So taking this chronological approach works up to a point. However, there are a few things which you kind of miss out. So one of them is the culture during the years of Weimar. So due to Gustav Stresemann's Dawes plan and the money that flows through Weimar, the culture in the Weimar Republic kind of flourishes. You get artists like Otto Dix. Hitler hated this kind of art. He would say is Nicht Deutsche. You get new architecture called Bauhaus, like big squares and circle kind of housing. Jazz music, again, music which Hitler would have detested. Basically, all this culture Hitler would have detested, but not only Hitler. You've got to remember that a lot of German society was extremely conservative, especially in the more agricultural parts of Germany, like Bavaria, especially in more like the elderly and men who are in the army. Also, you got this music, jazz music, which is music of Jewish origin, of black origin, but it seems to be popularized by Jews. Cabaret, where you have flappers. Now, Hitler obviously didn't like this for women. He thought women should be conservative with his Kinderkirche social policy. So he's not very happy. He's not a very happy bunny with what's going on here. Okay, now, life under the Nazis. So this is the longest thing I can see. Now my TV's come on. That's really annoying because I had it on pause. So let's pause it again and stop that. Deeply apologise. That's eating into the time. However, right, the TV's now off. Right, so life under the Nazis. You had the police state. So you've got the Schutzstaffel, okay, the black shirts, and underneath them you have the SD, which is a security service, and they're both uniformed. The Gestapo, Geheim Staatspolizei, they are not in uniform. They're in plain clothes and drive fear into German people. So basically you have a police state which a lot of Germans' civil rights are taken away from them because of this very oppressive police state. But a lot of, I think 80% of Gestapo arrests are due to German informants. So it's seen that the German population was largely happy to be on the side of the German regime. Okay, you get concentration camps which are introduced. You get which is there to get rid of opposition as well as Jewish people, so communists, homosexuals, etc. Controlling judges are introduced, so like raving Roland Freiser. So basically, the whole state is Nazified, so that Hitler can get rid of his opposition. You can only do that if the justice system and the police force are on your side. For instance, the Gestapo, they weren't accountable to anyone, so they could do whatever they liked. This gave them free reign to make as many arrests into opposition peoples as possible. This really struck fear into a lot of German people. Okay, also aspects like religion were Nazified. So you had a Reich Church, which was introduced. Goebbels was a master of propaganda. The arts were Nazified. So you had like book burnings, for instance. So Goebbels would introduce book burnings where any books which were nicht Deutsch, which were Jewish in origin or communist or just not Nazi, would be burnt. It's a way of like cleansing the message that reached society. Now, opposition which was faced in Germany despite this propaganda, Pastor Niemöller, he wrote his very famous poem against the Nazi regime. You have the Edelweiss Pirates, which was a youth group. Now, they were kind of like a resistance as well as an opposition group, but they were dealt with very brutally. They used to have fights with the the Hitler Youth. Now, going to social policy, under the Nazis, you had Kinderkirche, Küche, which was the role of women. So that's children, kitchen, and church. Also, Hitler introduced the Lebensborn program to get, he wanted more children to be born so that there would be this master race and huge army, in which he could take Lebensraum, living space in the Soviet Union, take that and make it part of the extended Nazi regime. Hitler introduced the Hitler Youth and the German League of Young Maidens. He also controlled education to ensure that boys and girls were socialized into the roles the Nazis saw fit. Now, with regard to living standards, unemployment, was it solved? Question mark. Well, women and Jews were removed from statistics, which meant that men could move into those jobs. So was there just a careful moving of massaging of statistics, or did Hitler generally solve the amount of people that are unemployed? He also gave Jewish-owned businesses to Germans. Okay, so again, like there's a big question mark over how well the Nazis did with this. Now, women, Also, Hitler introduced longer working days for Germans. The unions were abolished because Hitler thought that the unions were run by Marxists. So he introduced the German Labour Front and Strength Through Joy to kind of replace those unions and placate Germans. So Strength Through Joy was a really great way of encouraging Germans to work. They would get like cars or holidays, for instance, a great incentivization. Hitler persecuted minorities. So you've got the Nuremberg Laws. So that's 1935, written that twice for some reason, sorry. So within these Nuremberg Laws, Slavs, Gypsies, Jews, homosexuals were all treated incredibly poorly and sent to concentration camps, as well as political opposition. Nuremberg Laws, I think it's the law for German blood and honor. Jews and Germans were not allowed to have sexual relationships or marry, no miscegenation, as Hitler would call that. And Kristallnacht, as I've already mentioned, happened in 1938 and kind of shows the complicity of the German people and how Nazified the nation was for me. Okay, now, finally on the right, there's a bunch of names. Okay, Ebert, he was the first Reich president. Groener, he was a general that did a deal with Ebert to make sure that that Germany wasn't ruled by communists at the very beginning. After Kaiser Wilhelm abdicated, you've got Red Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht, who were leaders of the Spartacist uprising. They were killed. Wolfgang Kapp attempted to take control of Germany in 1920. He failed. Obviously, you've got Hitler. Ludendorff was an old general. He supported the Munich Putsch. He was arrested and sent to that kind of stupid little trial where Hitler got away with everything, basically, and was given a very lenient sentence. Hess, Himmler, Goebbels, Goering, all henchmen of Hitler. Very good to revise them individually. Hindenburg was the second Reich president. Schleicher was a really manipulative politician who tried to get power ahead of Hitler. Hitler hated him, had him murdered in the Night of the Long Knives. Von Papen was someone Hitler did a secret deal with. He became the vice president of Germany. Strasser was supposed to be a Nazi, had opposed Hitler early on in his career at the Bamber Conference. Hitler didn't like him. Hitler had him removed from the party. Raving Roland Freiser was a judge in the courts. Okay, now, guys, there might be some more names you think you might want to add there. Okay, this is by no means like 100% complete. I do think I've kind of addressed, I'd say at least like 98, 99% of the course, but I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect person. As I said, I'm going to share this timeline, and at the bottom there, you can see there's some more thematic things like life under the Nazis, key individuals in the course, culture during the early years of Weimar. You can see I've got other videos which are more expansive, and this is really just a quick run through. Okay, so this will give you a good idea of what you need to revise. If there's any names that you're reading or hearing me talk about, and you're thinking, I don't know that, well, that's your opportunity to revise right there. Okay, guys. This video, I think, is very important. I hope you watch it from beginning to end. It's a really good run through for your exam. Now, again, this was just on knowledge. It's not on exam skills. I'm going to make some videos on exam skills. I've already got some videos on exam skills, so you're fully prepared for this exam. This is Mr. Mack-Poole signing out. And let's stop the video now. Stop recording.